Hey everybody, good evening, happy new year, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been such a long time. This is Abigail's Niche. Of course, my name is Abigail. I know we haven't seen for a very long time now. See, I'm sorry. First of all, I had big plans. I had plans of putting out a vlogmas. I had plans of, giving you back-to-back content during the Christmas period, but I was so busy. God, I've promised myself by the grace of God. You see, this next Christmas is so going to be soft for me. All the extras we do just to make sure we all enjoy Christmas as a family. Not doing that. I don't know how God is going to do it, but I really want to focus on myself, my family then, and just something different from all the usuals I've been getting during Christmas. So I could not even give you back-to-back content. First of all, I'm using a mic. Let me check if my mic is working properly. I'll be back. Don't go away. Welcome back. Like I said, happy new year. This is 2023. I'm doing this video as a follow-up of a video, and I can't call it a vlog, and it's definitely not a sit down, but yeah, it's more like a vlog. How I'm starting my year, like my plans for the year, and a little something, and of course I showed you my books I've had over the years. If you want to know more about that video, I recommend that you go watch. I will drop a link to the video in the description box below so you can check the video out. So today's video is a follow-up video to that one. I'm such a reader. The only thing standing between me and my reading right now is the fact that I have an 8 to 5 job, and it keeps me so busy that I'm missing out on reading. Even at work, I try when I have time on my hand. I don't have people coming in, I try to read from my system, but even at that, the concentration I would normally give to a book, like when I'm at home, is no longer there. But still, I try to still keep in touch with reading. But I have a problem with this generation. Yes, no offense. Let me adjust my camera properly. I notice it's a little bit slanted. I hope it's better now. So yes, I have a problem with this generation. Please, so don't pick offense with me. What is my problem? I have noticed that when I say this generation, I'm not so much of auntie. You know who we refer to as an auntie. Auntie is someone who is like way out of this generation. I'm talking about people in the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. No, I'm not so much of an auntie, but I know I'm also an auntie because anyone from the 2000 and grade is a junior. So that makes me an auntie. I know that these 2000 people don't read. I'm sorry, no offense. Of course, there are different ones, there are good ones, there are ones who struggle to be different from the status quo. But honestly, this generation of 2000 children, they don't read. So I'm here to maybe talk about books that I grew up, memories that I have growing up with these books. In school, as a novel, I would just read for fun. I read a lot of books. It was until my SS1, did I say SS1? I think it was until my SS3 that I started trying to be deliberate about the types of book I read, and I finally succeeded in my 100 level, 200 level. Other than that, all throughout, anything goes. Once it is readable, you will find me reading. Z. James Hadley Chase, Seal Hot, Harlequin, the crime stuff. Yes, I really loved the crime and investigative stuff. Of course, the romance stuff, I read every single one of them. Okay, and even the Nigeria story books and A lot of them, I read a lot of things while growing up. So I'm here to share with you a handful of Nigerian or African authors that I read while growing up, and I want to see how many persons in my audience that is not a 2000 child or a 2000 generation child that doesn't read. So if I mention any of these books and you have read them, adventure, some of these books it was a must read because we needed them for WAEC, we needed them for NECO, we needed them for our class exams. I was an art student, so definitely you cannot separate me from reading. But even in this generation, even art students don't read. I sit down with them a lot. My late sister, God bless her soul, yes, was one person I could speak for. She was a reader. I would catch her with novels. She loved reading, she loved writing. I think something she definitely picked up from me. Yeah, God bless her soul. So let's go quickly, let me not blab. Once you hear these books and you have read them, please signify in the comment section. Let me hear your experiences reading this book. What were your thought line? What were your thought process? How was your experience growing up? Let's go straight into the books. The first one I have here on my list is Without a Silver Spoon by Eddie Iro. Hey, this book, see, I don't have so much memories of this book, but I think I have an idea of how the person who was the main person in the book grew up in a family where they were not having enough. They had to manage through life, they had to manage to afford little meals and stuff like that. And I remember painting a graphic picture in my head about these books. It was such an amazing book. If you have not read it and you are in the 2000 generation, I want to recommend that you should go check out Without a Silver Spoon by Eddie Iro. I think I read this book when I was in primary school. I actually read it when I was in primary school within the class of primary 4, primary 5, and I actually bought my own copy myself. That's a story for another day. Literally all the books you saw me display, I bought them myself. I'm not just a reader, someone that would just go to a library and pick books and not return them and then stock them as her own. I am someone who buys the books she read. And because of that, most of my friends or people who cared about me, if they want to get me a gift, the first thing that would pop into their head then was to get me a book. So while most of those books were bought by me, and some of them were gifted to me by my wonderful friends. So yeah, you should go check it out. I read it when I was in primary 4, primary 5, and I bought this book myself. The next book is The Concubine by Elechi Amadi. Concubine, I think Concubine, I read it also in primary 3. And how did I read it? I was even wondering how I understood those books then. I read the book I had a family friend who was staying with us then. She was in senior secondary school. Oh no, she was in junior secondary school. They were reading it then. So I would sneak and steal the book and read the book. That was how I got to read The Concubine. It's a very interesting book that I would definitely recommend. I would definitely recommend that the teenagers of the 2000s should try. I don't want to go into, telling you all the stories of the book. Another one I read, number 3, is The Incorruptible Judge. We used to call it then The Incorruptible Judge. The Incorruptible Judge by Dr. Olageke, Place for African School. I think we read this one in junior secondary school. Yeah, or primary school. Yeah, I read this one in primary school too. I think I read it from, yes, I still read it from her. Okay, the friend I talked about, the family friend I talked about that came to stay with us and was older. I read it from her first before I eventually came across it in my senior year in school later on. The next book, the fourth one, is a Ghanaian writer or one of these Eastern African countries, A Woman in Her Prime by Asare Konadu. Now, I would have gone on the internet to, read about these books and their authors and come here and blah, but I wanted it to be something that will flow because I want to test my memory to see how much of these books I remember. And very funnily, I remember them. I just don't remember all their names, but they are ones that will definitely stick into my head. So yeah, A Woman in Her Prime is also a very interesting book. I read this one in junior class, if I'm not mistaken, in secondary school, and it was quite interesting. I don't remember so much of the story, but I know it was interesting. Yes, this one. I remember this one. And I'm sure if you are not in the 2000 class generation, even people in the 2000 class, for the readers, you definitely will remember this one. Eze Goes to School. If you were in primary school then and you don't have Eze Goes to School, or you have not read Eze Goes to School, then you never start school. Eze Goes to School is like a must book in our collection of books. Then when the school gives you a list of books to buy, I think they usually used to recommend getting Eze Goes to School because it was a literature for primary school students, especially those in senior primary school classes. So yeah, Eze Goes to School is a tale of a boy who, of course, finally went to school. It talks about how they will arrange his uniforms, his pair of shoes, his bag, how he was excited to go to school. It's relatable, of course, because when you're going to school, when they get you a new school, maybe when you go to, what am I saying? When preparing for a new school or a new term, yes, there's this excitement that comes to preparing for a new term. New term will mean getting new school sandals, getting new school uniform, getting new pair of massets. Hey God, I wonder what the craze with masset was for me then. That's another story. But I would want to get different kinds of massets. I will not go into that now. But yeah, so Eze Goes to School was quite relatable. The next one is The Girls Are Not to Be Blamed. This one, if you wake me up, I can tell you the name of the author. Olarotimi. It was such a good book. But I think it had a tragic, it was quite tragic. The Girls Are Not to Be Blamed. I think about a mother and a son. If I'm wrong, please try to correct me, but I think it was about a mother and a son who later, his son got married to the mom. I can't remember the full story, like I said, I would have gone to read about it, but I remember Super Story actually acted out the story for us as a movie. For those who still remember what Super Story is. But yeah, Olarotimi wrote this classic and I really enjoyed it, even though it was tragic. Hi, Chinwe Achebe is a classic, timeless author. God bless his soul. That man was so good. No Longer at Ease was also a fab for me. It was a book for our fathers, really. I don't really think they really recommended it for us in our time. It was more for the people in the 80s and in the 70s. But I found myself drawn to it because, again, that age, I had a very old soul. So yeah, No Longer at Ease by Chinwe Achebe was definitely another book I enjoyed. The Return of Ikenga by Chukwuemeka Ohuka was also another one. This one also was acted as a movie. Yeah, it's also very interesting, very interesting, and I enjoyed it too. Things Fall Apart. Oh God, we used to sing the song. Now this one was not just a book; it was an experience, I dare to say. Things Fall Apart was a memory we have, very fond memories, because it was also acted out as a movie, and that's the movie that earned Pet Edochie the title of Okonkwo. Till date, we still refer to him as Okonkwo. I don't think if a 2000 generation child is sitting down and we call Okonkwo, I don't think they can definitely relate to why we call Pet Edochie Okonkwo. But for those of us in the 90s, it's something we are very familiar with because they used to show it, I think, is it Sundays, if I'm not mistaken, excuse me. They used to show it on Sundays, and yeah, I think 6 p.m. in the evening or Saturdays. I can't remember, but I know definitely we used to watch Things Fall Apart as a drama on TV when NTA was still NTA. Now I don't know what they are. It's a story of a strong man by Chinwe Achebe. If you're a 2000 generation child, I recommend you go check this one out. The Virtuous Woman by Zainab. I can't remember the other name. And it's not quite clear here, but yeah, I read this one too. It was a very interesting book. It's a very interesting and calm book. It's a book that encourages good virtues. So I would also recommend the book. The Boy's Slave by Kola Onadipe. It's also another interesting book. I read it. I can't remember the full story, but I have clips here and there in my head of this particular book. Efuru Flora Wangpa. Yeah, another good writer. See, then the theory was not just reading the book. The theory was also in your ability to, sustain the knowledge of the book. If not everything, at least the main cast or characters in the book, and also the name of the author. I used to thrill myself, or used to give the assignment to myself to memorize the names of key characters in the book and also the name of the author. So that it was like a competition there. Like, how many authors do you know? Flora Wangpa, Chinwe Achebe, Olarotimi. You just start calling. It's also another interesting book. Then I have The Return of the Boy's Slave. It's a follow-up book. You should read it. Then we have The Drummer Boy by Cyprian Ikwensi. Cyprian Ikwensi was also a very good author back then. Very interesting, very interesting author. If you ask me, I would also recommend that you go read The Drummer Boy. It was very, very, very interesting. This one, The Passport of Malam Ilya. See, this book is also by Cyprian Ikwensi, by the way. This book was also an experience. It was an experience because I remember I used to read when we used to travel to the village for Christmas. We would go home every December for Christmas. My father had a Peugeot that would always break down. Or even if it's not Christmas, there are times where he wants to dash to the village and say, okay, me, myself, my 2 younger ones, my brothers, that we should come along. And the 3 of us would just jump into the car, jump with our bags, school bags, and carry a few clothes, and off we go. And of course, I will dare not go without carrying a novel. And The Passport of Malam Ilya was a book I found in the village that I read from the village back home to where we were staying, and I read all through my stay in the village. So it definitely was an experience for me. It was very interesting. Then I will not just read books, I will act them out in my head. And because I'm a very, 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 very graphic person, or how do I say it, I'm a very imaginative person. I would just imagine these things in my head as if they were happening to me. So yeah, Cyprian Ikwensi, Passport of Malam Ilya is very interesting, super interesting. Zulu Sofola. Do you remember the name of the book he wrote? The Wedlock of the Gods. Yes, another interesting book. I can't remember all the story, but yeah, I know it was a love story that ended tragically. But it's also another very interesting African book you should read. This one I just saw, I can't remember. The Burning Grass, Cyprian Ikwensi. I virtually would jump on any book I see Cyprian Ikwensi or Chinwe Achebe because they are well-known authors and their books are quite interesting. Flora Wangpa also is someone I would jump on her book. Yes, One Trouble, 1 Week, or 1 Week, One Trouble. It's also a book that came along with the text we were asked to buy in primary school. Also another interesting book. The Potter's Wheel by Chukwuemeka Ike. Yes, that's another author that was good. I think back then the eastern part of Nigeria had very good authors who could capture very interestingly and vividly their cultures, and it made it so easy for us to imagine. It's something that leaves the younger ones, the younger generation, with so much of imagination. So yeah, The Potter's Wheel was also quite an interesting book. Sugar Girl, Ralia, this one was Kola Onadipe. See, I still remember the name of the character. I told you there were ones that stuck very well. Yeah, Ralia was a very interesting story. Sugar Girl, Very, very, very interesting. I can't remember so much, but I know it was an interesting book back then. Chike and the River, Chinua Achebe wrote this one. This is also another interesting book. It was not just a book, it was also an experience, because I remember I would want to be in the mind of Chike to understand why Chike will be coming back from school or will stand by the river to watch the fishermen, watch the market women travel by water, and a lot of things Chike did by the river then. I don't remember full story, but I still remember that it was much about a child with his imaginations. Interesting book by Chinua Achebe. The Lion and the Jewel by Wole Soyinka. See, Wole Soyinka's book then was not just a book, it was an era, and it took mature minds to actually understand his books, because most of them were written in plays, and for me, plays were not interesting. The only time I started finding plays interesting was when I started acting them out. So I will play all the characters and just present myself in different forms. That way it helped me sustain knowledge of the book, and it helped me also understand the book. The Lion and the Jewel was not a book I bought myself. It was a book that I read when that family friend was staying with us. I think I stole the book from her and I read The Lion and the Jewel. Koko Babaoni or Baboni is also a very interesting book. I can't remember the author, but it was a very interesting book. I remember the story of a woman who did not have a child and later found a child outside and would drop water outside. The child fell sick or something like that and would have to drop vessel or bucket outside to collect dew and bathe the child for the child to get better. But yeah, the child grew up to be strong and wanted to. I can't remember all, but I know Koko Babaoni was a book I didn't just read, I experienced it because I was very imaginative about Koko Babaoni. Very interesting book, by the way. The African Child, Kamara Laye. This one, yes, we didn't just read it. It was a book. It was a text prescribed for us in our textbook, in our text list. Is that a good English? I don't know. But The African Child was another book I refer to as an experience. The Arrow of the Gods. Chinua Achebe again. The top for me. Quality writer from the eastern part of Nigeria that knew how to capture the traditionalism of the Igbo culture and present it so beautiful and vividly to the outside world. He made the Igbo land so interesting. I think he was one of the persons that made me fall in love with the Igbo land, with the Igbo culture. And I remember growing up to say I wanted to marry an Igbo man. That's a don't dream. Let's not talk about it. But when I eventually started seeing Igbo suitors, I ran for my life. They were good people, good Christians. So it's not them. It was more like a mindset I later came to develop. So yeah, that's another interesting book. The African Night Entertainment. This was a collection of stories told by moonlight. The African Night Entertainment is a collection of stories and it's very interesting. It's written by Cyprian Quincy. It contained a lot of interesting stories. I also recommend that if you're a 2000 generation child, you should go read. And yes, even us too. Look, these books I'm calling us, I'm going to try and look for 1, 2, 3 of them that are so interesting and still trying to refresh my memories of them. They were very good. Chimamanda and Ngozi Adichie. I remember reading this woman's book when I was in secondary school. I bought the book myself, The Purple Hibiscus. Oh my god. I still remember the girl. I can't remember the first one, but I remember the girl, her father, her brother, her only brother, they were from a modern family. A mid-class family, something you call a mid-class family, and they had a reverend father or a priest in training that the girl was falling in love with and was also liking her. But of course, it was a priest; they couldn't get married, something like that. But Purple Hibiscus is definitely a very interesting book. This is another book that leaves you imagining things. See, for someone who also grew up crushing on reverend fathers, let me cover my eye. Yeah, but that's the truth. I think I grew up crushing on them. Maybe because something in me just wanted someone who would devote everything to God. Like, I found people who would devote everything to God very interesting from a tender age, even when I was not so serious with God. So yeah, Purple Hibiscus was also an experience for me. I literally acted this out in my mind. I literally acted out this book in my head. Yeah. Cesar Bansi is Dead was also a book we read as a text in senior secondary school. It's by 3 authors, Otto Fogard, Johnny Kani, and Winston Shona. Maybe it was a Ghanaian, they were Ghanaian authors or South African authors. Sorry guys, they just got the light. Or South African authors. I can't remember, but yeah. This was certainly another book that was an experience because, like I said, it was a recommended text in senior secondary school. I wrote exam. I wrote WAEC on this. I wrote JAM in this. So this is definitely an experience. The Last Duty by Isiodoro Okweho is also another book I read and found interesting. I think I read this one in senior secondary school. In senior primary school. That is primary 5 or 4. It was also an interesting book. The Beggar's Choice by Aminata Soulful. So another interesting book. Our Husband Has Gone Mad Again by Olarotimi. This one was also a recommended text. I think we even attempted to act this as a play in school. I don't know, I can't remember, but yeah, recommended text. Yeah, and this is all the book. And so these books were experiences for us growing up. In fact, as I mentioned them, every single one of them brings fond memories to my heart. Very, very, very fond memories. See, this is one of the advantages of reading. Reading is not just something you do out of pleasure and fun. It's also something that is meant to, help you keep track of your memories as you grow older. Something you can refer to for the other generation coming behind. Just like I am seated here, confidently recommending these books to the younger ones coming behind. If you have read some of these books and you still accurately remember all the tales they came with, please leave a comment in the comment section and tell me what your experiences are or were growing up reading these books. If you can even remember a line or two from each of the books, that makes you a special person on this channel as far as this video is concerned. Alright guys, I'm going to stop here for today. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share. I want you to recommend as many 2000 generation kids as possible. Am I calling them kids? Some of them are not kids anymore. Some of them are even married. As many 2000 generation peeps that you can recommend for this video. I'll see you very soon on another video. Stay safe. Mwah.